Formula Drift gets ready to kick off a new year of action-packed excitement and progressive car control battles for the 2011 season. We start our season on the streets of Long Beach, California. Drivers tell us their thoughts about Formula Drift over the years and get into how they got started in the sport. The drivers will also tell us what they have new for this year and how they plan to beat last year's champ, Vaughn Gittin Jr. With a wide range of up-and-comers and old veterans, this year will be an all-out pedal-mashing, brake-pumping drift war for the 2011 Formula Drift Championship.
Since I've won the championship, a lot of people have asked me, what's next? What are you doing next? As if drifting was a means to another end for me. My answer to that is I love drifting. I vividly remember the first time I put everything together, and it is an epic feeling. It's the reason why I come back here year after year to compete, because you still get that feeling. Drifting is possibly the most fun behind the wheel of a car that you could ever imagine. It's like being in control of the most amazing roller coaster in the world.
I guess what keeps me coming back to drifting every year is just the thrill of competition and all the people. I mean, there's such great people in this industry and this sport. It's just a constant progression, and I love it, and I love being a part of it, and being at the top of it is my goal.
The sheer feeling of a car sliding sideways through a corner is just awesome. I mean, it's just unlike, any other type of sport, where racing, it's just the guy that wins is the guy that gets all the credit. But here, I mean, you could be last place, and you got the whole crowd rooting for the underdog. I mean, it's just a whole different vibe.
Everybody likes doing burnouts. Well, most people like doing burnouts. Most people like racing. So you're going to do burnouts while you're racing. It's like a win-win.
These cars are out of control, and you're taming that, you're controlling that, and you did the best on that day. The feeling you get behind the wheel with the tire smoke and the noise and everything, it's amazing. It's not matched in anything I've done before.
Drifting is my life. I don't know what am I going to do if I'm not drifting. I want to get championship. I want to win the championship. That's my main concern of my life.
Drifting has been around for 20 years, starting on the mountain roads of Tokyo as a racing technique to get around corners and then becoming more of a style and car control show. The media then picked it up and it exploded into a full-on competitive sport in Japan. Americans soon caught on and started competing in parking lot events until Formula Drift started a professional series, and the rest is history.
I would say I first heard about drifting in about 1999 and got into it very shortly after. I borrowed a friend's rear-wheel drive car and went sliding around in an empty lot with Tony Angelo. Slowly but surely taught each other how to drift over the years.
I just love that feeling of being out of control. Naturally, at the age of 18, I got my first rear-wheel drive car, and I just started playing around, doing donuts, power sliding, and just having fun. I saw a video a couple years later of drifting in Japan and instantly just fell in love.
I first heard about drifting from my brother. He got hold of some Japanese DVDs off eBay. These guys were flinging these 86s around the place. I thought it was super cool, so I said I'd give it a go on my own car. It didn't work out that good at the start, but I got better at it.
When I was a high school student, I still didn't have a driver's license, but I had a motorcycle license. So I was riding my motorcycle on a mountain road, and I saw the car was driving in sideways. Actually, that was drifting. So, ever since I saw that, I really wanted to do myself. I got AE86 Corolla, and I started drifting.
I got into it without even knowing what it was. A friend of mine picked me up in an old school Mustang and took me around town on this wild ride doing donuts and burnouts, doing like small drifts out of some of the turns. so I was totally sold on it. I just wanted to do this. I got a car and would practice car control at night, and then later on that winter I actually found out that drifting was an actual sport, and it had just come over from Japan to the U.S.
I saw these guys doing this thing called drifting, and it looked like something that I would probably be good at.
A lot of people just think drifting automatically just rose up from the ground and started being awesome. The fact of the matter is the sport has been here in the States for about 11 years, and it started in Japan probably about 20 years ago. You know, it started out though, guys just having fun at track days, having fun at parking lot events, and just recently, the last 8 years, we've had a professional series that has taken the sport to the next level and brought a professional competition element to the sport of drifting.
For Formula D to start, it was great because it catered towards, you know, our current skill level in America. It was a professional series, so it was only going to grow from there, and it was a pivotal point in drifting where it took drifting off into the mainstream and made it more of a household name for everybody.
From that point on, 2004 was a 4-stop series across the country. It's just been growing every year, adding an event or two every time. And even now we're doing global events, you know, Abu Dhabi and Qatar. It's just really, you know, incredible to see how quickly they grew the sport.
A lot of people know about drifting because of Formula D in the US. You know, we had a lot of TV coverage and everything. So definitely Jim and Ryan did a great job making this series bigger, which is good news. So hopefully it keeps going.
Welcome back to the streets of Long Beach. Vaughn Gittin Jr. had one of the best years in Formula Drift history. The question is, can he keep up that momentum coming into the first round of competition?
You know, I'm constantly working on improving myself. You know, some people would say, well, you're the champion, why do you need to improve? Well, you're never perfect. There's always room for improvement, and for me personally, every event and every round, I step back and make notes about what I think I could improve on, what I did wrong, and even though I might have won that round or did well, there's always something that could be improved on, and that's very important in progressing yourself. So for me, a lot of it has to do with working on myself as a person and my brain, and a lot of it is also working with my team on improving the car. While it's an amazing car, there's always little teeny changes that can make it that much better at every track. So you have to be open-minded and realize that you're not perfect.
In 2010, we finished the season off in 6th place, which, you know, I was very happy about. You know, it's excellent to be in the top 10. You know, we were still doing, you know, what we were doing the year before, but just JR just had that huge runaway early in the season and just never stopped, you know, all the way through, just non-stop podiums, just kept running away. I mean, we've never had that many podium finishes from a single driver in one year. We all had great years ourselves in regards to, like, you know, the point status, but he just out the door.
JR's results last year were amazing. He got 6 podiums and he was very consistent all year.
2010 was kind of JR's year. He just, you know, dominated pretty much every podium but one. There's a lot of really intense driving. Dye was right there, Tanner was right there, Turk was right there. It was just, you know, awesome battles between those guys. I wasn't really at that level with my car or my driving. I was kind of just on the sidelines watching, which was kind of my inspiration for this year, I guess.
2010 season, I've been battling with JR whole year. Luckily, I won every single time I went up against him, but at the end of the day, he did way better job overall. He was really good and really consistent. And this year, I will try to be like him, try to get a podium every single round, and I'm sure he will do the same thing. And then when I in the final with him, I just beat him again.
Drivers are prepared for the 2011 season and getting ready to do battle with the likes of Chris Forsberg in a new 370Z. Slide or Die Yoshihara keeps his trusty 240SX. JTP comes back with a brand new Mustang. Matt Powers gets more horses under his hood. Millen continues to show off his Hyundai Genesis. Rookie of the Year, Frederick Ospo, takes over Faust Scion. D-Mac looks like he's focused as ever. Turk retires the Solstice after this event, and JR brings back the 2011 Mustang with a new and improved engine and will try to hold on to his title.
Our biggest change for 2011 is clearly our Nissan 370Z. It is as fresh as it gets. We're getting almost 700 horsepower now out of this car, so we're right up on par with top title contenders again.
For this year, I just swapped to LS7 from a Corvette, which is going to make it faster and help me keep up with people better. Kind of like trying to change my mentality, just drive really aggressive all the time. The new team member for Need for Speed is Frederick Osbo. He definitely pushes really hard with his driving and he's super committed.
I became a part of Formula Drift in 2008 when I drove at the Red Bull Drifting World Championships. And ever since then, I've dreamt of doing the full season, and this year it came true. It's basically what my whole life revolves around right now.
2009 was really a bad year for me, and then my 2010 season was great. I won round 2 Atlanta and New Jersey round 3 back-to-back, so that was a great year. I definitely think I proved that I can still fight for championship.
This year we have the new Saturn Sky. It's a perfectly straight one compared to the old one that I kept crashing all the time. Just looking at the silly mistakes and things, there can't be room for that anymore. There was records or checkers, you know, there's a time and place for that, and when it comes off, it's amazing. But we have to get off on the right foot here today.
Really looking forward to being able to drive the Solstice for one more round, you know, before I say goodbye forever. I'm really glad that we decided to do it this way. We didn't want to bring the new car to debut here in Long Beach just because we knew it wasn't going to be ready yet, so we're not going to sacrifice an event with anything but going for first place.
Coming to Long Beach is the first event every year. It's a tradition at this stage. I just like the atmosphere, you know, the people on top of the track. It's a street course, it's not a racetrack. It's like urban drifting, you know, there's just something cool about it.
I love Long Beach. It feels great to be back here. As soon as I got off the plane, I was just so relieved that it was like 80 degrees and an absolutely perfect day in California.
It's just crazy. It's pure sensory overload. Not to mention, you got a city backdrop. We're on city streets. There's the beautiful water over there. I mean, it's just a great atmosphere. And one of the events that, if I wasn't a driver, I would definitely be here every year.
I think the hardest part of the Long Beach course is getting a really good entry. You don't want to, you know, come up short or not carry enough speed because you can't really make it to the wall and to the outside line, which is going to set you up for the rest of the track, unless you get like a good amount of speed coming through that turn 1.
This track is surrounded by the wall, so literally, you know, you don't have a space for the mistakes.
You know, the best thing about that track that you can do for yourself is to stay as close as you can to that car in front.
It's all about muscle memory. You remember where you transition every time, and when you delay your transition, it brings you further and further out to the wall. The worst thing you could do is try and touch every wall the first lap you go there. You're putting it in the trailer.
The surface changes out here are pretty ridiculous. You enter on concrete and then it turns to like painted marks, and then you transition and it goes from like a sealed slab of pavement to like concrete again.
And if you're not scaring yourself out there, you're not going hard enough.
To win here in Long Beach is to, number 1, not have your car break. Number 2, don't hit the wall. And number 3, just have smooth lines, be up on your tandem, and be comfortable, confident.
Long Beach is one of those tracks where at the end of the day we have almost 1 or 2 new faces on the podium every time.
This is the first event, so everybody is equal. Whoever can get first place this event will lead the championship. So I would say this is very important.
Formula Drift is a judge sport, much like freestyle motocross or skateboarding. Competitions start out with individual cars competing in qualifying runs, in which each car is judged by a panel of 3 judges, using 4 criteria: speed, angle, line, and style. Based on how each driver qualifies will determine the driver matchups in the main part of the competition, the head-to-head battles, sometimes known as tandem battles, in which all the qualifying criteria is thrown out the window. Each driver gets a chance to lead a lap as both drivers are going all out to outdo, outmaneuver, and overall show dominance in the battle. After the 2 laps, the judges will award a winner based on a majority vote. If there is no majority, then the drivers will battle it out again, one more time, until a winner is announced. The nerves kick up as qualifying starts and drivers prepare themselves to impress the judges, with only 2 single-car drifting runs down the Long Beach street course. Reese Millen shows the rookies how to get things started by getting the 5th place spot in the round of 32 bracket. Matt Powers came out swinging with wicked deep angle, getting that 4th spot. Then it would be Kyle the Menace Mohan, showing us he has no problem laying it down on his hometown track, taking the 3rd spot in the show. Daijiro Yoshihara showed us how fast the 240 can get, qualifying 2nd and getting 1 step closer to a possible championship. But it was Conrad Grunwald and his hand-cooked Camaro that took the #1 seeded qualifying spot. Qualifying is harder than ever this year, and it looks like the 2010 champ might be having some problems.
So I biffed my first qualifying run. Hopefully I got that over with for the year. But yeah, I just threw a little bit too much angle into it and drove it shallow and got like a 40 something. So yeah, that's why we get 2 of those things, I guess. Made 2 stupid human mistakes behind the wheel of the best car I've ever had, and I didn't qualify for the show. Definitely a tough pill to swallow, especially coming off being the 2010 champion, having such a dominant year last year with 6 out of 7 podiums. It was a big confidence check.
I mean, JR's mistake that he made on both of his qualifying runs. It's just to show that anything can happen. I mean, this is for real. There's a lot of good talent out here. You really got to be on your game. You can't just skate along and get a free ride.
Welcome back to the streets of Long Beach, as we now get ready for the round of 32 highlights to start. It would be Conrad Grunwald taking on 32nd seeded qualifier Toshiki Yoshioka. Conrad pulls out and initiates early, but Yoshioka has no problem mirroring him until he taps the wall and straightens, making it hard for him to catch up. And in the second run, he ends up pushing too hard and spinning. Grunwald wins. The second battle would bring on Chris Forsberg against Michael Essa. Chris would lead the first run and flies out of the gate in his new 370Z, putting down a solid first run. Then it would be Essa to lead, and he started out strong, nearly tapping his bumper on the wall. But Forsberg was just shadowing his every move, and he takes the victory over Essa. Next, it was Tyler McQuarrie against Taka Eano. Tyler blasted off, and Taka could not keep up, while losing drift and giving McQuarrie an easy victory into the top 16. Then it was John Brusakov taking on Frederick Osbo. John would lead the first run and throws it in hot, but gets a little too aggressive and wrecks into the tire wall, giving Osbo the win. Matt Powers would then take on Jeff Jones. Matt gunned it in the first run, showing Jeff a huge amount of power and angle, which gave Powers an easy win.
I qualified 4th, which is awesome for me. Super pumped. 2011, new year, and beat Jeff Jones in top 32. I tapped him in the inside too, and I thought that was cool. And apparently the judges did too.
Matt Walden would go up against Charlie Ng. Walden brought out his A game, showing Charles how consistent and smooth he can be, as Walden gets the win. Reese Millen comes out swinging against Dean Kearney, showing him all kinds of grip, smoke, and engine power. Millen moves on to the top 16.
This little Hyundai's putting out over 700 foot-pounds of torque and 700 horsepower to the wheels. That's why you're seeing a lot of smoke.
Then it was Matt Field up against Alex Pfeiffer. Matt led the first run and flew away from Alex, but in the second run, Field would straighten, but then Alex spun, giving Field the victory. Starting us off on the other side of the bracket would be Daijiro Yoshihara against Aramis Bacchus. Daijiro would lead the first run, pulling way out in front and leaving a big gap for Bacchus to make up. But Aramis in the second run really laid one down and threw all kinds of angle. But Daijiro was right there, giving him the win. Ross Petty was supposed to take on Ken Gucci, but Gucci had a mechanical failure, giving Petty a victory lap. Walker Wilkeson battled Otto Graven. Walker led, and Graven was right on him from start to finish. The next run, Walker answered right back, sending it into a one more time. But when Graven led, he went into the tires, giving Wilkerson the win. Then it would be Ryan Turk battling against Jun Mang. Turk would lead, hitting all of his marks as Mang took a shallower line trying to chase him down.
shake the cobwebs off coming into this event. But, you know, the Gardella crew, Mike and Scott and Ty and Gary, you know, all of us just came together. We made some changes to the car. And coming in here this morning was phenomenal. I felt right at home and super comfortable. So hopefully we can come out of here on top.
Well, our first matchup was against a good friend of mine, Pat Mordaunt. We battled with him before. Kind of owed him one for Vegas a few years ago when we had to go 3-1 more time. So I was really happy that we could knock him out in the first round. I mean, he's a buddy, but when it comes to being on the track, it's war.
Jeff Abbott went against Dennis Mertzanis. This battle was pretty tight, but Jeff made a couple of mistakes and Mertzanis gets a spot in the top 16. Darren McNamara battled Mike Fiat. Mike kind of fell behind in the first run, and D-Mac stuck it to him in the second run. McNamara wins. For the last battle in the round of 32, it was Justin Pollock versus Cyrus Martinez. Pollock led and pulled a little gap, but Martinez was still hanging on. In the second run, Pollock mirrored Cyrus's every move, as JTP takes the last spot in the top 16. We have cut the field in half from 32 to 16. As these drivers are hungry to make their way to the top of the podium and see who can start the season off right with a head start on our way to another Formula Drift Championship.